As the political world struggles to find words fit to honour him, the family of John McCain, struggling with the loss of, above all else, a husband and father, as memorials for the late senator begin.
See our tears for our brother, our father, our husband, our fellow citizen, our senator.
The tireless senator from Arizona lying in state at Arizona's state capitol on what would have been his 82nd birthday. McCain meticulously planned his own funeral services designed to send a message of bipartisanship even after his death. In an attempt to put petty partisanship aside, McCain asked his two former presidential rivals to eulogize him at his funeral.
John said that night, President Obama is now my president. So he healed the nation at a time he was hurt.
Barack Obama and George W. Bush will speak at McCain's memorial service at Washington National Cathedral Saturday. Glaringly absent is President Trump. McCain did not want the president at his funeral. Trump criticized his service and his capture in Vietnam during the election, and McCain famously voted down Trump's attempts to repeal Obamacare. It took the president more than a day to respond to repeated calls to appropriately pay tribute to McCain.
Why won't you call John McCain a hero, sir?
And perhaps a final jab at the president, McCain asked a Russian dissident and Putin critic to be one of his pallbearers. Even in death, the senator from Arizona appealing to the better angels of our nature.
John is probably the only politician who could get us to set aside politics and come together as a state and a nation, as we have.
Governor Ducey also described the late Senator McCain as Arizona's favorite adopted son, and you can see that is true by the lines of people here to pay respects. There will be a funeral here tomorrow morning, and then the senator's body will be flown to Washington for a ceremony in the National Cathedral, and he will be buried on Sunday at the U.S. Naval Academy Cemetery in Annapolis, Maryland. Jim.
And another chance for the public to view him here at the Capitol as well. Nick Watt there in Phoenix, Arizona. Washington honoring McCain on Saturday, where both President Obama and President Bush will deliver eulogies on Senator McCain's requests. Maybe not a so subtle message to President Trump, who McCain did not want there, but to a divided country as well. I want to bring in CNN's Jeff Zeleny. Jeff, interesting because there's not a lot of friendly history between McCain and both Bush and Obama. They were surprised by McCain's request to them?
They were indeed, and that's one of the questions so many people had once this was announced. Had President Obama in particular developed some type of a relationship with Senator McCain that we didn't know about? So I talked to friends of both men. It turned out they really hadn't. But in April, President Obama received a phone call from Senator McCain. He said, "I have a blunt question for you. Will you deliver a eulogy for me?" Shortly after, he made the same phone call to George W. Bush. Of course, these are two rivals, the two men who stopped McCain from winning the presidency. But it's all part of the lesson and message Senator McCain is trying to strip out. So I talked to several McCain advisors, including Steve Dupree, who is a longtime aide and friend of Senator McCain's, and he explained it like this. He said, "I think John McCain is imparting a lesson in civility by asking the two men who defeated him to speak as an example to America that differences in political views and contests shouldn't be so important." He goes on to say that we lose our common bounds and the civility that is or used to be a hallmark of American democracy. So that is something clear. Senator McCain trying to give a message here, certainly unspoken, but President Trump is the intended recipient.
Right, and overcoming past differences here, because with Obama, for instance, specifically, even before they ran against each other, there was some occasional tension.
A lot of tension. There were generational differences. I mean, when Senator Obama arrived in the Senate in 2005, I was covering him then at the time, and boy, they fought over a lot of things. Senator McCain did not necessarily respect the idea of him running for office, that he thought he was ready to be president. I was going back to look at some of those old campaign clips over 2008. Take a look at this clip that Senator McCain said in 2008 about Senator Obama. He said, "I don't seek the presidency on the presumption that I am blessed with such personal greatness that history has anointed me to save my country in its hour of need." Searing, sarcastic, classic John McCain. Yet he wants President Obama to be delivering a eulogy for him. And it is a sense that he's trying to leave this, again, this final message, and also perhaps trying to rewrite a bit of history, what Senator McCain's own role was in what has now become this, rather cantankerous, loud Republican Party.
No question. And just for everybody involved, right, a message that despite differences, you can overcome them. And here's my way of highlighting that point after death, sadly. Jeff Zeleny, thanks very much.
Sure.
He was reportedly... Today, President Trump is confirming in a tweet, of course, what's been whispered for weeks now, that White House counsel Don McGahn will be leaving this fall. The departure after an, at times, intense relationship with the president, and coming only weeks after the discovery that McCain has cooperated extensively with Robert Mueller's special counsel investigation. CNN's Abby Phillips is at the White House. Abby, the president said he appreciates McGahn's service, but the history between the two of these men has frankly not been rosy.
That's right, Jim. McGahn has been in this administration since the very beginning, but our sources tell us that for about a year now, they have not been especially close. And in that time, McGahn has also become a witness in the Mueller probe. But his departure, while it was expected at some point this year, it was not expected that President Trump would announce it over Twitter. That came as a surprise to many of McGahn's allies and even members of Congress.
A top White House aide at the center of the Mueller probe, now on his way out.
Don McGahn's a really good guy. Been with me for a long time. Privately before this, he represented me. He's been here now.
Months, McGahn was a central figure in this White House's legal dramas.
I'm the one that has to walk into the Oval Office and advise the president on various recommendations.
McGahn leading the effort to fill the federal bench with Trump-picked conservative nominees, spearheading the search for 2 Supreme Court picks, and navigating a slew of controversies.
My counsel came, Don McGahn, White House counsel, and he told me, and I asked him, and he can speak very well for himself. He said he doesn't think anything is wrong.
Trump enlisted McGahn in a failed effort to stop Attorney General Jeff Sessions from recusing himself from the Russia probe. And McGahn once refused Trump's order to direct the Justice Department to fire Mueller, according to a person familiar with the matter. These episodes catching the attention of the special counsel, who is investigating Russian meddling and possible obstruction of justice.
You're aware of it? No, I don't have to be aware. We do everything straight. We do everything by the book. And Don is an excellent guy.
Also surprised by McGahn's departure, Senate Republicans. Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley, who worked with McGahn on judicial nominations, tweeting, "I hope it's not true." And Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell lamenting the sad news for our country.
Now, the White House did not say who would be replacing Don McGahn upon his departure, but our sources have told us that Emmett Flood, who is a lawyer here in the White House who was brought in to deal with the Russia probe, is one of the top candidates. Now, Flood has an interesting background. He was a lawyer for former President Bill Clinton during his impeachment trials. He also dealt a little bit with Hillary Clinton's email investigation as a lawyer for her, but he is close to Don McGahn and is believed to be the likely successor in that role. Jim.
Abby Phillip at the White House, thanks very much. Back with the panel now. So just a reminder, here's the president this afternoon praising McGahn in effusive terms.
He's a good man, very good man. Don, excellent guy. Yeah, Don McGahn's a really good guy.
CNN's own reporting is that the fact is that McGahn and the president have not had a good relationship. Some of that's bubbled over. I understand the New York Times is reporting right now that the president's wanted to get rid of him for some time. Is this, Amanda Carpenter, sincere praise from the president?
Probably not, but when does he actually offer sincere praise? The question for me is, how did Don McGahn last this long? Given everything that he's seen, and we know the legal stresses that this president puts the White House counsel, who is loyal to the White House, not the president, primarily under, I think it's amazing. And I think he should get the second Supreme Court pick confirmed and get the heck out of there. The question is, who on earth could play this role in the White House, because aside from the whole Russian collusion case, there are other major legal struggles going on. There's people looking at the Trump Foundation, the Trump Organization, two potential legal conflicts that impact Jared and Ivanka Trump, who play roles in the White House. And so this is, not only will that lawyer have to deal with impeachment, they'll have to keep all that madness straight.
Well, the thing about McGahn is McGahn famously refused the president's order to fire the special counsel Robert Mueller. With McGahn gone, does that put Mueller in greater danger?
That's hard to say, because if Emmett Flood, if in fact he does replace him, he's someone who's been involved on the front lines of the Mueller investigation. You have to, you'd think that he wouldn't want the president to do anything that would further jeopardize him. But to your question on how Don McGahn stuck around that long, I think it had everything to do with reshaping the judiciary. That's one of the reasons I'm sure McConnell is sad to see him go, because he had really been ushering that process through to get these judicial nominations through. Now that a lot of this has been done, it kind of had been assumed that he was going to part ways with the president.